welcome to the Liverpool Community Podcast here at the Big Condo Studios. I'm your host today, and I'm Phil Beale. And we have with us a singer-songwriter, a local singer-songwriter, fabulous artist who recently appeared on our Women in Music event, which we staged a couple of weeks ago. And we have with us Kiera Marsland. So welcome, Kiera.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
So this is your first time on a podcast by the sound of it?
Yes, it is.
So nothing to be nervous about. So how long have you been playing and writing your own material?
Since I was 16, and I
Okay.
did my GCSEs, yeah.
When did you start playing guitar?
Yeah, so I started playing guitar. Well, my dad bought me my first guitar when I was 7,
Uh-huh.
because he plays, and I was like, I'm very independent and very stubborn. So it was like, I don't want you to teach me how to do it. I can do it myself. Obviously, at the age of 7, I didn't have a clue. So I picked it back up when I was about 15, because like where I went to school, they did like a end of the year showcase type thing, like all the arts. So like all like the artwork, the drama, the music and things like that. And I wanted to play it, so I picked the guitar back up and it just kind of went from there.
Lovely, yeah.
Yeah.
So what guitar do you play now? What make is it and stuff? What's the hardware?
So I've got the one that I've got with me today. That's a Gretsch.
Oh, we've got a Gretsch?
Gretsch Jim Ricky acoustic. Yeah.
Wow, amazing! Yeah, great brand of guitar.
It's a lovely guitar. Like, yeah.
So who did you used to listen to from when you were back in the day? Who were you listening to and loving?
The first album I ever bought was Amy Winehouse, Back to Black. That was the first one I ever bought with my own money.
What a way to start.
Yeah, I've got her tattooed on me, like she's unbelievable. Yeah. Probably when I was in my teens, I started getting into the like Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
Things like that, love a bit of Stevie Nicks, Janis Joplin.
Right, yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah.
And then I grew up listening to like my dad's really into like Steve Vai, David Lee Roth.
Right, okay.
So really like proper.
The rock end of it, yeah. It's interesting, how many times Fleetwood Mac comes up in conversations with young artists.
It's become like a thing now, I think.
It's amazing. Yeah. It really is amazing. So when did you play your first gig? How old were you not your first gig necessarily, but the first time you played in front of an audience?
Yeah, that was when I was in school. So
Yeah.
I was what, 15?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how was that? Did you enjoy it?
No.
Yeah.
I was a nervous wreck, to be honest with you. Yeah. I really did struggle with my nerves until I was about. So when I first started playing, when I did my first gig back with Big Condo, I was what, 20, 21.
Right.
So up until then, I was really just like a nervous wreck. Wouldn't speak, wouldn't like do anything. I'd get up, I'd sing, and I'd leave. Like that was it. There was no like trying to build a relationship with the audience. Whereas, like I said, when we had a conversation before this, I said like, I come to the realisation that nobody who's in that room knows
That's absolutely
what's
right.
what's meant to happen, except for me, because
Absolutely
I'm the one who's
right.
prepared the set. So it was just like, okay, if I mess up, it could have been on purpose. These don't know.
That's right.
So it just kind of gave me a whole like new lease on life when it comes to performing. Really.
That's great though. It does give you that confidence, doesn't it? Yeah. I had the same thing once. I once sang the second verse twice instead of the third verse of a song that I'd written with my band. And at the end of the gig, I was absolutely screwing. I was livid. And the guitarist said, "Phil, nobody's ever heard that song before in that audience. Nobody's ever heard it."
It's so much easier with your own song, isn't it? Because
right.
when people don't know it, if you get it wrong.
What are you doing, Phil? Even we didn't notice, let alone them. True story. Oh dear. So you've played us several times on Big Condo gigs and events now, and coming forward to the Women in Music. How did that feel to you? Was that a good one to attend and perform at?
Because obviously I'm a big fan of giving women that platform. Like I've played a couple of Women in Music kind of like based events before where it is just all women on the bill.
Yeah.
And as much as like people are like, oh, like the feminists and this and that, like people try and like poo-poo it basically.
Sure.
I'm like, well, no, because if you actually knew what it was like to be a woman in music,
That's right.
then you would understand why it's so important.
I agree with that. And this first started coming into the media only very recently, really. And I used to think to myself, because as a muso and a music nut, I just bought Joni Mitchell or Amy Winehouse or whoever it was, and never thought anything of it. And when you start hearing, but they don't get the chance, it's like a real shock, you know.
Yeah.
But it's true, isn't it? And I've learned a stat just this morning. Apparently, as Roy just told us, 12 to 14% of the music industry turnover is with women.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous,
It's
isn't it?
microscopic, that, isn't it?
It is. It's absolutely crazy. And God alone knows how that's been allowed to happen. But it's great that you're doing something to try and change that now.
Yeah,
And I think, what's your opinion on the Liverpool scene in terms of the gender dynamics and stuff?
I think Liverpool's probably one of the best places for women in music because of the likes of like Big Condo putting these events on and everyone else who does like this, like similar gigs.
Yeah.
I think it is really coming to the forefront now, especially in the past couple of years.
That's great.
Of like we have got that platform.
Definitely.
Because the right people are realising how important it is.
Absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. It's one of the best cities in the world, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I say it all the time. So you haven't actually recorded and released any material as yet, have you?
No, just a couple of demos on SoundCloud.
Okay, right. Yeah. But you wrote your first song at 16.
Yeah, and I'm 22 now, so it's been a long 6 years.
How did it feel the first time you completed a song of your own?
Well, I had to do it for my music GCSE to submit it as part of me as me work. And I'd tried my hand at it before, but it was never something where I was like, oh, like, I like this, but because I had to do it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is important now. So I went and played it to my music teacher. And she was like, that's really good, that. And I was like, is it? Like, because I didn't know. Like, obviously, like, you listen to music, but you don't know what makes a good song until someone else says.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, right, okay. I was like, okay, this could be a thing
to do.
Yeah, so I was kind of just started like with my little cheap acoustic guitar, like the first guitar that I ever had.
Yeah.
And just sat and wrote, and then I went to college and I did music in college. Started writing with a guy there.
Did you?
Yeah, just any opportunity that we could sit and write, we'd be there doing it.
Oh wow,
like sometimes
yeah.
like you'd sit and you'd write a song like in one day.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, I loved it. It was just something about it. You were like, I love doing this.
How do you describe? I feel like I go into kind of a different kind of mode almost.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I think it's the same with performing as well. Like I always say, the feeling, like when you get off a stage after performing, that feeling that you get, there's nothing that I could compare it to. And I feel like it's the same when you finish a song and you like the song.
That's right.
It's like...
That's right.
You feel like accomplished, almost.
That's right. I feel like I go into a mode almost like when you're sort of just half awake and half asleep almost, where time just sort of stops almost.
Yeah.
And you realise, it's gone dark outside, but you've got this thing there that's just, it's a great sensation, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like the first time I recorded one of my own songs at home, it took me 6 hours to record all the parts and everything, and I just didn't even realise that I'd been sat there for 6 hours.
That's right.
Just sat behind my piano in my bedroom with my laptop, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, I was like, oh my God, that's a full song.
Yeah.
With all the parts and everything. And I was like, what time did I start doing this and what time did I was like, I've been sat here for 6 hours and I haven't moved.
It's right. But how joyful. And do you tend to write from experience, or do you prefer to create characters and stories? How do you do that sort of thing?
I like to cover all bases, to be honest. It depends. Like, obviously, if something happens where I was like, okay, like, this has inspired me to write something.
Sure.
Or sometimes, like, I'll read something and I'll be like, okay. Or then sometimes I'm just like, oh, that'd be like a cool song idea. Like, something will just pop into my head randomly. And I'm like,
yeah. I think
that's weird, but I like it.
Yeah, when you're doing it frequently and regularly, it's part of who you are, obviously.
Yeah.
Then you hear, I don't know, I've heard people say stuff on buses and things, as daft as that, you know, and think, oh, that's a line that's a line that's going in a song. It's great,
like a guy that I work with, he was telling me about his missus. I'd had a dream, and someone had said to her in this dream, if you're going to do drugs, you need the body of 20 gods.
Wow.
And I was like, I haven't put it in a song yet, so no one rob that. If anyone's out there, no one rob it. But it's been...
Hang on just a second. That's a great line.
It's been in me notes, because as soon as he
Amazing.
said it, I was like, I need to use that. I've never heard anything like it.
That's
but like the
amazing.
origin of where it's come from, it's just like the most random thing.
And that came in a dream to him.
To his missus.
To his missus, sorry.
Yeah.
In a dream. That's amazing.
Yeah, in a dream. And I was like,
That's amazing.
that's not my brain who's thought of that, but I'm taking
No,
it and I'm running
absolutely.
with it.
Absolutely. We're all magpies at the end of the day, aren't we?
Yeah,
Without a
1000%.
doubt. That's right. Have you ever dreamed a song?
Yeah.
Ah, there
I was
you go.
where was I? I was in Krakow a couple of weeks ago
Oh, wow.
with my sister. And I'd woke up and like, this half, like you say, like half awake, half asleep kind of thing. And I'd wrote a verse and I'd typed it in my phone. And I woke up the next morning, I was with my sister and said, I wrote a verse in my sleep last night. She was like, what do you mean? I was like, I woke up this morning, I typed a verse in my phone and went back asleep. It was just like the most bizarre thing. Or like sometimes like I'll wake myself up and I was like, I need to write this down, or I need to record this melody.
That's right.
It's really weird how it
in
works.
my dreams, I've been at gigs and I've been singing along to this song.
Yeah.
And it's like, then you wake, or you like you say, you actually wake yourself, because your consciousness sort of comes back halfway, doesn't it? You think, I need to get hold of this.
Yeah.
And that's so. I've got a voice recorder on my phone. Obviously, I used to have a little digital recorder thing, but now I use my phone, like everybody else does. Yeah. And every time I've got back in, I've sung it into it. Probably I've sung the melody and whatever. Yeah. And every time I wake up, it's absolutely shit. But you never know. One of them might come to something. Paul McCartney dreamed yesterday.
Yeah, scrambled eggs.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he had no words, that's right, but he dreamed the melody. So if that can happen, you never know, do you? Where does it come from then? What's your theory on where it comes from? Because I've done a lot of reading into what top songwriters feel about where it comes from. Why can you do it and not that many can?
That's a really interesting question.
Well, could everybody do it, do you think?
No.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Not to be negative, but I think there's people out there who are doing it who shouldn't be.
Kiera, we might have to edit that out. That's awesome.
But
I agree.
Some people think, I don't feel like you've got to have a deeper understanding of what it really is.
Yeah.
Whether it's musically or lyrically, because like some people can write really good lyrics.
Sure.
And can't put it to music.
Yeah.
Some people are really good with words.
That's right.
But have no musicality.
Elton John.
Exactly, like, and it works both ways.
That's right.
Some people are really good musically, but could not string a lyric together to save their lives.
That's right. Yeah.
And I feel like that's a really like amazing thing about music, is that you haven't got to do it on your own.
Yes.
You can partner up with you can put these two people together, one who's good at one thing and one who's good at another.
Absolutely. And
put them together and make something amazing. But in terms of where it actually comes from, I couldn't tell you.
I know,
because it's the whole question of is there something more out there or is there not?
Yeah.
Is there something controlling?
Well, it's all part of the question, isn't it? Yeah. Because it's a spiritual pursuit at the end of the day. I mean, what impact does it have on your personal mental health, would you say? Has it assisted you, or have you never had any issues with your mental health? You might have been perfectly happy with your life anyway.
I've had like most people these days, I've had my time with a bad mental health and
anxiety
things like that.
And stuff like that.
Of course. I feel like in the world that we live in now, because it is so driven by things, say like older generations haven't had, like it's a whole new experience for us to be like, I don't know what to do here. Social
media is like a goldfish bowl, isn't it? Yeah. You even if they're not, you think everybody's watching every move you make on social media, and that can be really, I think it can be really difficult to handle.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot.
Especially
it's a lot
a young
of,
person.
It's a lot of pressure.
It is.
If you're not in the right mindset, it is a lot of pressure. But in terms of like music helping me with my mental health, it's probably like the best thing that I've ever done.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You know, I couldn't agree more.
I am, in terms of like being emotional, it is very much like I need to say something.
Yes.
I need to get it out in my words, and whether that's actually having a conversation with someone or whether it's writing a song.
Yeah.
It's got to be words.
Yeah, that's right.
It's got to be outside of me.
Yeah, it's really profound. Really profound. Yeah, so I've read some theories. Some people think that stuff's just out there and they've got the antennae to pick it up. Maybe not everybody has, and there's all sorts of theories about where it comes from.
Yeah.
I quite like that one.
The antenna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that
I can get on board with the
it's actually all
antenna.
swirling around there.
Yeah.
It's all out there. If you can
Just all
pick it up.
radio frequencies.
Yeah, I quite like that one. So, how many songs have you got now then in your repertoire? Your own?
Jeez, at least 2 albums.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh my
Of
word!
stuff that I would be happy for people to listen to. Yeah, because it's been that's writing since I was 16, 6 years.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
And do you
a lot
find
of
yourself?
time.
Well, you've mentioned that it's something you like to do a lot of the time. Are you quite prolific? Are you? You produce stuff quite frequently, or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Like I've just started working with some different guitar tunings, started writing in DAD.
Oh, amazing! Yes, isn't it amazing?
It's a game
Isn't
changer.
it gorgeous?
Honestly, it's one of the nicest sounds ever.
So soulful.
And it was really, like, obviously, like, it's very different to playing in just standard tuning. And I was like,
Yeah, sure.
I just started playing around with it, wrote a song in a day with it, because I was just that, like,
That's right.
obsessed with it. And I feel like that's important as a writer, is to always try and find something to keep you wanting to do it.
Yeah, and it does open up so many doors.
Yeah.
I think I found it. I was trying to learn how to play slide, and the key. And this was a long time ago. The internet was still in its infancy, really. So there were nowhere near as many websites available to guide you on that stuff. I found one that said, right, to play slide, you've got to play in open G or open D. I thought, okay, right, okay. So retuned it all, and it just opened up my creativity in not playing slide. I was rubbish at slide, but it made me think, wow, this sounds so cool.
There's
Yeah.
just so much out there for you to try your hand at, isn't there?
That's right. And so who do you like to cover? Because that brings me to mind with what also happened was I found that I could play some Bob Dylan songs I hadn't been able to figure out for years, literally years. And Joni Mitchell, again, going back to Joni Mitchell.
Yeah.
Big Yellow Taxi's written in open D, I think it is. And it's just so
Yeah,
easy to
yeah.
play. So, what was the question I was going to ask? I was going to say, who do you like to cover then? Or do you pop any covers in your act?
Yeah, I say the same, like, opening speech every time I play. Like, if you asked, like, any one of my family members, they could recite the thing that I say every time. Because I like to just have that, I feel like it's easier in terms of, like, nerves and things like that, if you know what you're going to say. And
That's
I
right.
always say, I'm going to do a couple of covers, couple of originals, so I always like to do a mixture.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, as an artist, like, who hasn't released music and hasn't got, like, a great deal of following, I feel like it's important for those people in the audience who don't know who you are to be able to, like, relate.
To have something to hang on to.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
So if you're playing songs that everybody knows, then people are like, it opens that doorway into, like, who you are as an artist.
Correct. I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
And I've had battles with bands over the years. We're not playing effing covers. We're in a covers band. It's a show, guy.
Yeah.
We've got to entertain people. If you can't play 2
what it's
hours
all
of our
about.
own stuff, you just can't do it.
Yeah.
They've never heard it before. You can't. It's like that, isn't it? Really, same
Yeah,
thing.
definitely.
So, who do you like to pop into your act then, into your set?
I like to cover songs that everybody knows, but put my own twist on it.
Ah, I love it. Yeah.
So, like, when I played the Women in Music with Big Condo, I covered Gangster's Paradise by Coolio,
Fantastic.
and I did Dirty Diana by
I don't
Michael
know that.
Jackson.
I don't know that. What's
You
that
don't know
off?
Dirty Diana by
No.
Michael Jackson?
What's that off?
I
love Michael Jackson.
Off Bad, I think
Is
it
it on
is.
Bad?
I think so.
Dirty Diana. I'll have to check that out.
Oh, but honestly,
That's to slip by me, that one has.
That's a really, really good tune. But I liked, like I say, because especially when it's just me and a guitar,
Yeah.
I like to put my own little spin on it.
Yeah.
And I have found, like, recently, like, people have been like, oh, like, try this.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
put your own spin on it. Like,
Yeah.
my auntie WhatsApped me the other day, Dream On by Aerosmith.
Yeah.
Obviously, absolute tune. And she was like, cover this. She was like, I feel like you could do something with this. And I was like, okay, like, Gangster's Paradise was my sister's idea. It's never me. But she's like, I just feel like you could do something really cool with it.
That's amazing, yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you ever try combining anything together. I've seen people on the tour, like on the scene doing that, mashing things together.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
hear it, I think, oh, that fits so well. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Sophie Lee did. I can't remember the first. She started playing Wonka, and then she slapped in Scrubs by bloody who was it? TLC, you know.
Yeah.
I just went, whoa, amazing,
Yeah.
you know.
I used to cover a 1975 song, but somehow, again, not even my idea. We used to do this thing in college where we'd just sit with a guitar. There'd be a big group of us, and we'd just like sit and like jam things out.
Yeah.
And one of the girls was like that. Put Ignition in that song. Do you know Ignition by R. Kelly?
I don't know, but no.
No, but yeah. So it's a 1975 song, like dead slow. And then she was like, put Ignition in it, and it worked.
That's inspiration in its own way, isn't it?
It was
That really
really
is.
bizarre. And I was like, it just goes to show like two completely different worlds, like R. Kelly in the 1975.
That's right.
But the chord progressions are exactly like the
Amazing.
same. It was crazy.
That's so cool. So what's coming up for you anyway? You've got some gigs coming up. You're going to do some work today in the studio, aren't you?
Yeah, going in with Roy,
Interesting.
yeah.
What are you going to be working on in there? Are you allowed to tell us?
I think he wants to do some recording.
What songs you got lined up?
So I've got a little country-ish tune called Annie. Play it every time that I do a gig. It's like one of my favourites to play. And it goes down really well. It's like one of the first songs I ever wrote when I got to college.
Yeah.
And it's just one of them things, like when I was writing with the guy when I was in college, and he was like, I've got this idea about this woman. And she's like, and she tells me this whole story about this woman, which the song tells the story of this woman. He was like, she doesn't exist, but like, let's just write it. And we sat and we wrote it in a day, and it was just like, yeah. So that's like, I've always been adamant that that's the first song that I want to put out.
Fantastic.
When I start releasing music. So
you said you mentioned you've got a few demos up on SoundCloud.
Yes.
Is that one of them?
That is on there. It's called Annie.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. Okay, so that's going to be cool. You've got a gig coming up early March, I believe. Is that right?
Yes, the 8th of March at the Loch and Key in Bootle.
Awesome. Yeah. So how long is that? Is that on a bill with other people, or is it your own night?
Yeah. No, there's a couple of other people on the bill. It's like a platform for all women in music.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah, it's called Gals Who Gig. It's called.
Great stuff.
So yeah.
So how long are you playing for?
Ish. Half an hour. Maybe,
Yeah.
It's normally like standard, isn't it?
Yeah, that's about right. Isn't it? Yeah, that's right. Depends how many people we get in there.
Yeah, well, it says on the thing, like, bring your instrument, so I don't know if it's going to be one of them, like, half like an open mic kind of.
Yeah.
Just a really good time.
Sounds like a cool thing, that. Yeah. Well, great to meet you, and congratulations on the work you've done so far,
you.
and greatest of good luck going forward. Oh, we haven't mentioned the band situation. You do work with a band, don't you, as well?
Yeah. I do play with a band, because...
What's the setup? What have you got around? You got bass and drums and a guitarist, or something, or
bass, drums, lead guitar, and keys.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you write with keys as well?
Yeah, I do. I play keys a little bit as well. So when I like to swap between. Like you were saying before, like don't like to be too stagnant.
Yes.
If you get too stuck in your ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's so you do both, and you obviously play solo as well as playing with the band when that's working together. Yeah. You got, what's your preference? You did say before.
Yeah, I like to play on my own because it's only down to me. If something goes wrong, it's only down to me. But it's another atmosphere playing with a band.
It is, isn't it? There's another magic to that, isn't there?
Yeah.
When it
really
goes
is.
right, it's like, whoa. Because I'm a singer as well as playing guitar and stuff, and so when it's right, it's like the best analogy I could ever come up with, I think, was it's like surfing. I'm surfing on like this energy of 4 or 5 different people.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
It's electric, isn't it? Literally.
It really is, yeah. Anyway, great talking to you.
Likewise.
Well done on your first podcast. You've been awesome.
Thanks, man. That was great.
Socials.
Yeah. So I am at Kiera Marsland with 2 underscores on everything.
Right, so it's Kiera
Marsland. 2 underscores.
Underscore.
Yeah.
Awesome. Check her out.
Please.
This has been great, and this has been the Liverpool Community Podcast with me, Phil Beale, and the fantastic Kiera Marsland, and we're out of here.